It's time to pull those belts tight, race fans. The front stretch is coming at you, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Dirk Houston.
Well, good morning to you, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Online at joeskarting.com. Fast-paced, white-knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue. Get over to Joe's Karting today. Do yourself right with a little indoor kart racing. Hey, coming up on today's show, we're going to recap the longest race in NASCAR on the schedule, the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We'll recap that race. Plus, we're going to talk with Jon and Chandler Smithberg. That's coming up in turn number 1. And then we sat down with April from the Sweet Cases Car Show in turn 2. Both of those were recorded back in March at the O'Reilly Auto Parts World of Wheels car shows. Then in turn number 3, we sat down with David Hyatt earlier this week. We're going to preview the 2019 season for Iowa Speedway. And then in turn number 4, we're going to preview today's race at Pocono, the Tricky Triangle. What turn 4? No turn 4 at Pocono. It's just 3 turns and the longest straightaway. We've got some nice audio from Kyle Busch and Joey Logano we're going to play later, kind of talking about this coming race today at Pocono Raceway.
Shouldn't Pocono be like 6 turns, honestly? 3 getting in and 3 getting out.
You would think so.
You go to Bristol, there's 2 U-turns, but they say there's 4 turns.
So that'll be fun to watch today. And I do enjoy that race, and I'm really interested to see what this new aero package will do at that racetrack, because I think it's going to add a lot to that race. All right, let's talk about what happened to the Coca-Cola 600. I was in the garages or in the pits at I-80 Speedway for the Charlie Clark Memorial. Dirk, you watched a majority of the race. I went back and watched it courtesy of my DVR. And, boy, Eric Jones, that would just be an absolutely horrible thing. He had a fast car. He started 16th, but he had some great times, and he was the first car to retire just 22 laps into the race.
Yeah, that'd make for a long night just sitting there for the other 4 hours. So.
Yeah.
But those things happen.
He was the first of what seemed to be many tire issues early in the race. I didn't see, maybe I missed them, but I didn't see a lot of tire issues later in the race, about the second half of the race on. They seem to have kind of figured out maybe we shouldn't be running that low a tire pressure, or maybe something they were doing with those cars was causing that.
Well, the tire pressure would be about the only thing they could change, because normally when you have an issue like that with a front tire, especially the right front tire, it's a camber issue, but they're not going to change camber in the middle of the race.
Because that would take, a
couple laps.
Yeah.
Couple laps down to do that.
Right.
They could change it just a little bit with the balance in the car, by adjusting the wedge and the rear springs. They could change it a little bit there, but my guess is it was an air pressure issue. Whatever it is, they overcame it. Even Denny Hamlin, who had some problems early, was able to run most of the race, and then whatever he did right at the end, it happened again.
Yeah.
So
same thing, Martin Truex Jr., he had issues and wasn't able to finish in the top 10 at stage number 2, but he was able to battle back and obviously had the best finish of the night, picking up the win and in a very strong race, winning stages 3 and obviously the end of the race in stage number 4 and picking up the bonus points there. But a couple of guys had some serious issues, but because it's such a long race, they had time to overcome those issues and make their way back up to the front.
That's correct. The one thing that I'm upset with Martin Truex on is he took out Bailey Curry, which was just totally ridiculous. No reason for it. Curry was doing nothing wrong. He was going to be he was a lap down car at that point. And Truex just decided not to lift when he started drifting up into him because he was still in the gas, Kirk took him out. And that's a small team that got, reclipping a car.
Yeah.
And so that's a big expense for them. And he didn't even mention it after the race, like, I need to apologize to Bailey Curry or anything. So hopefully sometime this past week he has sent him a text and got that taken care of.
You're absolutely right. I mean, we talk with these smaller teams all the time, and we know that, or we're pretty sure that Jeffrey Earnhardt lost his ride in the 00 at Starcom after the beginning of last season because he destroyed so much equipment that the team was kind of like, hey, we got to move on to a driver that can take care of our equipment because we've got to be in saving mode for a long time.
Well, and that's exactly why they picked up Landon Castle. The guy doesn't crash very often, makes very few mistakes, and when they're out there running around with tires that got twice the wear on them as everybody else because they can't afford all the new tires like the other teams can, he's out there taking care of equipment, and he's happy to have a ride and to be out buzzing around the track.
Brad Keselowski wins stages 1 and 2. Like I alluded to, Martin Truex Jr. picked up stage number 3. 3 and the win. Joey Logano came home in the runner-up spot. Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. with top 5 finishes. Chris Buescher, Alex Bowman, Jimmy Johnson, William Byron, and Kevin Harvick round out your top 10. Bad days for, like we talked about, Eric Jones. Kyle Larson finished 33rd after an accident early on. Kurt Busch finished 27th, and Clint Bowyer finished 24th, with Brad Keselowski probably had one of the stronger cars, but wrecked late in the race. I believe was that a tire issue also?
That I don't remember specifically, but yeah, Brad had a very strong car, but, ran into a little bit of trouble and, ended up in the back. The guy, to me, that had the run of the night, though, was Chris Buescher, who had some trouble early and still brought that car home with a top 10.
Good. I felt like it was a good race. I thought it was one of the better races at Charlotte we've seen in a long time. It wasn't a runaway and hide and single file run for a lot of the race, which is my issue with the longer run races, that I think drivers know that they can play it safe for 90% of the race. Figure out what they got, push their car a little bit, find their limits, and then just ride along. This seemed to be a race that they were pushing a lot, especially during the restarts.
Oh, yeah, they ran hard. I mean, the final pass for the lead was a 4-wide deal going down the back straightaway. I think there was 6-7 laps to go or something like that at that point. But that's where Truex took the lead and held it from there. A lot of passing, TV ratings were great.
Yeah, we did mention that. Kansas, they were up, I think, 7%. I saw Charlotte was up 11%.
Yeah, I was going to say it was double digits. I couldn't remember the exact number. But, yeah, the TV ratings were up. The crowd looked pretty good. It wasn't stacked full. It was not. But it definitely had a good crowd. Which to me proves that some of the stuff NASCAR's trying is working.
Yeah,
making the people happy.
I think the racing action, 13 races in, the mile-and-a-half racing we've seen has been better. It's got some room to go still, and NASCAR will admit that freely, but I think that everyone that watches the sport, participates in the sport, and oversees the sport is pretty happy with what they're seeing so far.
Well, and I think part of this has to do with the drivers, like you said earlier. They're not sitting back now and just gliding around for 90% of the race and then racing. They seem to be racing the whole time.
So that was the Charlotte race in a nutshell. Joining us on the show now for another Red Oak Fabrication interview. If you're looking to get your chassis or parts and pieces for farm equipment, your everyday life, maybe a classic car, anything you could need, pieces of metal, powder coated, give them a call today. Red Oak Fabrication, you can find them online at redoakfabrication.com. You can also email Jordan for a free estimate, Jordan F at redoakfabrication.com. On the show now, Jon and Chandler Smithberg. And Chandler, you've been racing for a few years now.
Yeah, last year I started, and this year I'm going to try to hopefully get another championship on my belt, and I hope he could get a championship as well. Last year he couldn't because he had a blown motor in his go-kart for the first half of the season. Then we got another one, and he was getting better and better with it. And last year I got my first championship.
Was last year your first year racing? What did you race?
Go-kart.
What kind?
Cage kart, flat kart?
Flat kart.
Flat kart,
Okay.
All right.
Well, it's a good thing you didn't get a championship before that if you weren't racing.
Yeah.
So then you were able to lock down your championship. Where was that at?
Low Sunset.
Okay.
Okay, so you guys don't run the same class then?
No.
Okay.
John, do you want to someday so you can show him a thing or two?
Yeah.
It's always nice to beat Big Brother, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you had you started off the year with had an engine issue, and then it took you all a little while to recover from that. But then once you got back on the track, you were able to pick up some wins.
I picked up one win, but finished second in championship. See if I can try to get first place. So let's see if I can do better this year.
Got to take it a little easier on that engine, huh? Not push it so hard early in the season. Did you guys both get to go race the Turkey Chase or the Nebraska Kart Shootout?
No, I wish, though.
That just didn't happen, huh?
Christmas family vacations or Thanksgiving got in the way.
Thanksgiving got in the way.
Yeah.
So with Mom and Dad working at Joe's Karting, how much practice do you get over there?
A whole bunch.
John, do you get to go race over there?
Yeah, I just beat everybody.
Yeah, that's the way you got to do it. That's what you got to do. Chandler, are you going to stay in the same class this year, or are you moving into a different division?
Gonna stay in the same class. I was gonna race a sport compact, but we had stuff going on, and we decided don't.
Yeah. Give it one more year in the go-karts, and then you move up.
Yeah.
Super late model, probably?
Wow.
Dad's going, nope. Buddy's going to have to give me a bigger pay raise. The guys down at Joe's Karting, helping to fund the operation. But what's the dream for you guys? Where do you, Chandler? Where do you want to race eventually someday? Provided you've got just a bank full of money.
Provided Dad hits the lottery.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Oh God. I wanted to go to NASCAR, but I probably want to stay in dirt for a while.
Yeah. Well, it's as we're seeing today, the guys that are being really successful in NASCAR are coming from the dirt series. There was a time frame there where it was more IndyCar or USAC asphalt that was producing the winners in NASCAR. But right now it's dirt heavy, so go out there and get yourself a sprint car. Go figure out how to run the cushion, and you can be beating Kyle Larson someday.
Yeah.
John, what do you want to go run?
I just want to stay in dirt, but when I grow up, I just want to be in a sport mod or a B mod.
Yeah. Are you guys more fans of the late models or the sprint cars?
Or mods, or
I like all of them.
Yeah,
but
it's tough not to like them. I mean, when they're going around the track.
Yeah.
But you definitely, it's kind of fun for me to sit at the racetrack and watch, because working at I-80 and Eagle, you see two totally different crowds. At I-80 is the late model guys, and Eagle's the sprint car guys, and the fans are two totally different fans. So when you get up past that modified division, you start to split as far as where your favorite drivers go to. Which ones, do you guys have a preference, or you just anything that runs on dirt's great?
And I like the mods and the late models because I got a few people there I know.
Yeah.
Very well.
So who's your favorite driver out, in the adult classes? For the grown-ups.
The late models is Bill Lane Jr.
Yeah.
And the mods is Buddy Ray Jones.
Yep. He's going to be retiring soon, I hear.
Yeah.
You're gonna
How
have
about
to,
you, John? You got any favorites?
Well, I like the sprint cars because it has a lot of action in it.
Yep.
And the drivers that I like in sprint cars is Shaylee Bate and Jack Dover.
There you go.
Did you see Jack's car over here at the show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get in it, take a few laps?
No.
So who are some of you guys sponsoring that help you get up back and forth to the Speedway? And
I know Joe's Karting is hopefully Golden Bowl that he sponsored us last year.
Mm-hmm.
And AutoZone.
Hey, it's good to have a parts store on with you.
Yeah.
And you got Joe's Karting, which is a racing parts store, so you're covered commercial and race cars.
how about Mom and Dad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, no love, Dad. No love.
And DC Electric, that's where my dad works at for a full-time job.
Those are some of your great sponsors, and you guys are working on getting some new ones on board, so hopefully you can make that funding jump into the Sport Compact class and maybe up into hobby stocks.
Yeah.
Do you want to go from Sport Compacts into modifieds, or would you want to go through the hobby stocks and stock car class?
Like each class at once.
Yeah.
Run
Okay.
it for a few years.
Yep.
Then move up.
You know, it's kind of just your own preference to if you want to make your way up the ladder and kind of figure it out as you go, or if you want to jump right into it and have no bad habits. Because sometimes the things you learn in a hobby stock can be a bad thing in a Braggernite late model or even a super late model. Big dreams for what do you want to go try to race a turkey chase in 2019?
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, go win that one.
Yeah.
Defend your track championship at Sunset.
Yeah.
You gonna go race anywhere else? Just Sunset?
Hopefully Eagle. Probably go from Little Sunset, then Eagle, and go back and forth.
Yep. John, what about you? You want to go where you want to race for your home track?
Little Sunset, but then I want to race at Eagle.
Yeah, at Mini E. So you guys are gonna pretty much, it's gonna be wherever Dad's gonna haul the car that weekend, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever you can get work off on Friday nights. Well, guys, do you have a racing page or any way people can follow you on Facebook?
Smithberg Racing.
Smithberg Racing on
That's
Facebook.
a catchy name.
All right, guys, thanks a lot for coming on the show. We appreciate your time. Best of luck this year. You see them weekly at probably at Little Sunset. Maybe catch them every once in a while at Eagle. What's your car numbers?
Mine's 19C.
Chandler's running the 19C, and John, what are you running?
Well, my number last year was 10J.
Yeah. So you're gonna stick with that one, or are you gonna make a number change?
Probably stick with it.
Yeah. Do like Kobe did. Stick with it for a while, and then when you need more T-shirt sales, you change your number. So that way everybody comes to the hauler and buys more T-shirts. That's the reason why he changed his number when he played for the Lakers.
So what
It's
number?
all about that money. All right, guys. Thanks so much for your time. Best of luck this season, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you White Knuckle Racing by the River bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
Racers all over the country are discovering the benefits of powder coating their chassis. Powder coating offers a clean, even finish you will be proud to show off to fans and sponsors. Plus, it's a more durable surface. While looking beautiful, powder coating offers superior protection against corrosive chemicals typically spilled during routine maintenance. Bare frames start at $275 with estimates available if blasting or reworking is needed. Get your quote today by emailing Jordan F. at redoakfabrication.com or by calling 712-623-4911.
First Detail Supply at 102nd and J offers you the same professional grade products that are used in detail shops across the United States. With the high quality detail products and the guidance you'll receive from First Detail Supply, your car, truck, motorcycle, or boat will shine with a lasting finish. Find out more about First Detail Supply by stopping in at 102nd and J Street or check out firstdetailsupply.com. Don't forget to mention Front Stretch and receive 10% off your purchase.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch, rolling into turn number 2. It's time for another Red Oak Fabrication, located just down the road in Red Oak, Iowa. Affordable powder coating is available for just $275. That is a bare frame. Any reworking or sandblasting that needs to be done, you can always get it done. It may be just a little bit more, but Jordan will take great care of you, get you an estimate. Just give him a call, 712-623-4911, or email him, jordanf at redoakfabrication.com for more information. Head to redoakfabrication.com. Joining us now on the show, the organizer for the 4th annual Sweet Cases Car Show, coming up next weekend, Sunday, June 9th, at the Millard South High School, about 149th and Q. April joining us on the show. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing really well. Talk a little bit about the car show. What was the origin to getting it started, and how has it been getting to the 4th annual?
You know, it all started in 2015 when I came across a story of a woman that was raising money for children in her community that were going into foster care and given trash bags. And That just really kind of broke my heart, and wanted to know if that was happening in our community. And in fact, it was. I made some phone calls, and there were several agencies that were currently handing out trash bags. And I just knew that I wanted to try to make a difference. And so it kind of grew from a bake sale to a car show.
How does somebody get involved in the car show, and how do they get, is there prizes to be won?
So there are a lot of ways that people can get involved. They can register for the car show. It's a $25 entry fee. 100% of that money creates the duffel bag and all of its contents. So a hygiene kit, teddy bear, blanket, coloring book, and crayons. They can also just go online to notrashbags.com, and there's different ways that they can donate there. They can donate straight to the bags if they wanted to create just a bag and not put in a car. The day of the show, we have tons of raffle prizes, 50-50 raffle, silent auction, and all of that money will also be used to create the sweet cases.
So these bags go directly to the kids that were unlucky enough to end up in the system, basically?
Yes, so for the ones that are pulled out, usually in emergency situations, they are taken to an agency, and then from there they're placed into foster care, and that's when we kind of step in and help provide them with some duffel bags to give them some love and compassion, some dignity as they start their new journey through the system.
It's an amazing shock. I used to date a girl that the farm that she raised horses and raced horses on was an emergency foster family. He would, just in the middle of the night, they would get a call and they would drop a kid off that next morning. And it is, I mean, it's amazing the kids that went through there, and you could see they've just got this ability to withstand so much, but they're at their wits' end at that time, and now they're in a completely new location, and it's a scary situation for them.
It is. It's a very scary situation for them. You know, their chaos is also their normal, and so they're moving from one chaotic situation kind of to a new one, even though it's calm and loved and there's structure. It's still a new form of chaos to them. And so as they're able to navigate through this system, to be able to give them this is, really just rewarding, I guess. And there's all these families that are able to take in foster kids, and it's great that they do. And they're ready and they're able in the middle of the night, like your friend. But then some of them aren't prepared for a newborn or a teenager or an elementary school student. So that's why the bags kind of help with that.
Well, and I mean, I can't even begin to imagine, what it would be like to be 5 or 6 years old. I can remember being sent to grandma's house, and that was just a shock. I can't imagine meeting new people.
Absolutely.
At that age, the trust factor, it would be zero.
Yeah, and it's those little things you don't really think of. And I'm going to draw comparisons to things in my life. And we fostered a dog for a while. And it was so many times I would sit there and go, I need this. Why don't I have this yet? Because it was, it was 2 or 3 days into owning the dog. And I was a cat guy. I never had dog toys and never had a leash. And I never had to take the dog outside on a regular basis. I imagine it's a very minuscule comparison to what these foster families go through when they don't know what age they're going to be fostering, so they can't really prepare for it. You can't have, if it's a teenage girl, you don't have the right hygiene products available. If it's a teenage boy, you don't have the right exercise stuff, or even an infant child. I mean, it's to have a child.
PlayStation.
Talk about having a child from a newborn to 2 years. You got to have all different types of diapers on hand, ready to go.
A huge variety of things that are needed just in that, just from newborn to 2 years old. So to help kind of offset some of those costs for those foster parents, and just to be able to provide something special for the children is. It's really great that the community can come together and do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the car show again.
Yes.
It's coming up Sunday, June 9th. That's next weekend. Registration, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. The car show runs from 10 to 2, and then the trophies are going to start getting handed out at 1.
Yep.
They can also find this on Facebook, correct?
Yep, Facebook, Sweet Cases Omaha. We'll take you there. NoTrashBags.com. There's tons of information on there as well.
You said there's a silent auction also?
Yes.
Find out more information again. What was the website?
NoTrashBags.com.
And then the Facebook page?
Facebook.com/Sweet Cases Omaha.
Sweet Cases Omaha. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for this great cause.
Absolutely.
And hopefully we can make it over there next Sunday and see what you guys have going on.
Absolutely. I'd love to have you guys out there.
April from the Sweet Cases Car Show going on next Sunday, June 9th. Registration 8 to 10, car show 10 to 2. Is it free for anybody to just come out and see the area?
It's absolutely free for the public to come out. We have a kids zone. We have free jumpers, free face painting and balloon twisting. We have a kind of a dunk tank thing going on to help keep everybody cool. It'll be a great time.
Millard South High School parking lot, east side of the school there, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's 14905 Q Street, about 149th and Q Street in Omaha. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Have a great
April.
day. We'll be back on the front stretch.
We all have that coworker that runs their mouth off at how great they are. They shot a 5 under par, 95-mile-an-hour fastball. Bench press 375, brah. Wouldn't you love to shut them up by schooling them at Joe's Karting? Council Bluffs' premier indoor karting track, professionally designed so each corner is your opportunity to embarrass your coworker. Call Buddy for your next company outing at 712-256-5278. Joe's Karting, white knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue next to AMC 17.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole of the front stretch and the home of MAV TV, featuring action from the Lucas Oil Late Model Series.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Located on Mid-America Drive in Council Bluffs.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch. Joining us on the Red Oak Fabrication Hotline, it's the president of Iowa Speedway, our favorite racetrack just down the road on the east side of Des Moines in Newton, Iowa. Iowa Speedway, the fastest 7/8 mile track in America. David Hyatt joining us now. Good to talk to you, sir.
Good to talk to you. Glad to be here, Dan. Man, it's good.
It's been a while since we've chatted. I imagine you guys have been just kind of taking it chill, not really doing a lot of stuff at the racetrack.
Yeah, we just kind of go into hibernation over the off season, and actually, I'd like to think that, but we've been doing a good bit of planning and plotting and working around the communities here. And we're excited about this season. We think we've got some pretty cool stuff going on.
I completely agree. Looking at your event schedule at iowaspeedway.com/event-schedule, you guys have got a lot coming up. But before we get to any of that, is there any facility changes or structural changes that fans are going to notice when they come to the first race coming up on Saturday, June 15th?
Yeah, no, nothing structural. And I think our traffic patterns are all staying pretty much the same. We're still coordinating a little bit with Highway Patrol to make sure that our ingress-egress routes work just fine, and we don't need to make any minor tweaks on that. We think that's working fine. Structurally, it'll all be the same. Should have plenty of great access. And hopefully we're going to look at adding maybe a couple different routes around the parking lots as it relates to our trams. I know we had a few questions last year about where to pick up the tram and where the drop points were in particular as we got to more of our outer lots. So we've been working on a plan to maybe make that a little more accessible, a little smoother for the fans coming in and parking on the outer lot.
You guys, your first race is coming up June 15th and 16th, the Gander Outdoor Truck Series presented by M&M's. The 200 race is going to be coming up, actually presented by Casey's General Store and powered by M&M's. What a great sponsor, and I know your marketing director, Edward, is really excited about that. He loves himself some M&M's.
I tell you, I think he eats up our profits, though, is the problem. So we're going to have to figure out. I think they're going to pay us in M&M's so that he can have his snacks and all. But no, we are excited. Nothing else. It's certainly a colorful and well-known national sponsor that we bring right in here to Iowa, and obviously Casey's General Stores, who do an in-store program at the same time that we're running the race out here, certainly makes a difference. And the thing about NASCAR and NASCAR racing and sponsors who get involved, they really do see a great payoff because we have some fantastic fans, loyal fans who use the products and who will promote the products themselves. So when M&M's comes in and works with a partner like Casey's to do something extra and add something to the marketplace, they see a bump. And when they see a bump, they put money back into the sport. And when they put money back into the sport, we keep things up and operating, and fans have a great show to come see. So it's that cycle that works. So we appreciate the fans when they see those names come up, and certainly when someone like M&M see the value of the Iowa fans who come to our speedway, we know that it's working, and that's the main thing.
Do you have a favorite kind of M&Ms? Are you a peanut M&Ms or a peanut butter M&Ms?
I'll eat almost any of them, but I'm a pretty plain guy.
Yeah.
As much as I like peanuts, I like my chocolate M&Ms. I like the original, hard shell chocolate, melts in your mouth, not in your hands M&Ms.
Well, like we talked about, Saturday, June 17th, 7 p.m., green flag for the Gander Outdoor Truck Series. When it comes to the three series you guys bring, the three big series, the IndyCar Series, the Xfinity Series, the Truck Series, and then I failed to mention the ARCA Series and the K&N Series, but the Truck Series is it's probably my second favorite to come because these guys, you talk about the Truck Series and it's an automatic default. They'll lean on each other in every corner, and Iowa offers that opportunity.
Really does, and that's the beauty of being a short track but also being a fast track. And great job on the design of this track. Kudos to Rusty Wallace back in the day on the way he laid it out, the way it's sized. These guys with these trucks punch a big hole in the air, and because they're a little less stable than some of the other cars that race here. They get their high speeds, but they'll beat and bang on each other because at the end of the day, they're still punching that big hole in the air, and aerodynamics aren't meaning quite as much to them. And when you see especially a guy like, Brett Moffitt, who's right here from Grimes, Iowa, proud to have him as not only our defending race winner of this track, but the defending Truck Series champion. So that's a big deal. He was out a couple weeks ago and did some things around town with us. Actually went over to Casey's and made a pizza and then delivered it down to the Des Moines Chamber of Commerce. I'm not sure if I would have eaten it, but that's a different story. But at the end of the day, having him come back and that crew, and if you think about how that race finished last year with Noah Gragson making the run on him and Brett kind of anticipating it, knowing the track, he just backed off, let Noah make the run. Noah washed up the track, and right back under him off the turn 4 goes Brett, and boom, he wins the race and goes on to win the championship. It really is going to be that kind of exciting races. I've only been living at this track, if you will, for a couple of years now. This is my second full season. I've been coming to this track for a long time in my prior life, and in doing that, I have not seen bad racing here. And that was one of the cool things that attracted me, is that there's good racing here. And when there's good racing, we get race fans who want to come see it. We understand there's differences in dirt racing and other short track racing and super speedway racing, but race fans love good racing. And that's the kind of show we want to put on here.
I think what Iowa Speedway is doing as far as the Xfinity Series and the Truck Series is really starting to put pressure on the Cup Series to add more short tracks, because the fans are loving what they're seeing when the Xfinity guys come and the Truck Series guys come. This close quarters racing, no one can run away and hide with the lead. It's 3-4 car lengths, and then it starts to close down as the laps wind down. It's great racing action.
It really is, and that's why fans like it. Fans grow up going to short tracks, and they see these little short sprint races where drivers have to hang it all out every lap, and they see them close in, they see them lean on each other, and they see the type of racing you just described, and we get to repeat it right here. And when you hear our fans and some of the drivers in the sport talking about not only do we need more short track races, they mention the fact that we need to be short track racing right here at Iowa Speedway. And these are drivers, some of whom have raced here and know the place well enough to know it'll produce a good show, but some of them who haven't necessarily raced here but know that it will put on a good show just by virtue of what they see, what they hear, who they're talking to. And all of those things, we feel, play into our favor for being in a better position than we've ever been to think about what happens down the road.
After the checkered flag waves for the Gander Outdoor Truck Series, M&M's 200% of a Casey's General Store on the 15th. You guys have your annual Napa Auto Parts Concert Series, and you're bringing one of my favorite bands. I mean, you cannot get any better classic rock than the great Kansas.
Oh, man, they're awesome. I can't wait to get them here. We've been talking about that one. Number one, we think we got a great Napa concert lineup for all year long, because we have that race after each of our support events this year, or that concert rather. But Kansas coming to open our weekend, that's the one that we've really been talking about here in the office. That's just outstanding. Can't wait to be there. I'm looking forward to being front and center. It's going to be great music. It's music that I grew up listening and driving to, because they've just got good sound. And I still go out on my motorcycle, and they're on my playlist when I get out on the motorcycle. There's a handful of good, hard riding, hard driving, classic rock and roll songs that I love to just crank up into my helmet as I'm riding on my motorcycle. And Kansas provides 2 or 3 of those cuts along the way.
You really can't
maybe more.
You can't help but crank it up to 11 when Carry On Wayward Son comes on.
Oh, you're right. That's I can roll out of the garage with that one on and crank it and just go. And and then I'll roll into some other acts as well and blend it in. But Kansas makes the cut every time.
And you're not actually able to purchase a ticket just to the Kansas race. You guys make it a little bit of a special event to where purchase a ticket to the Truck Series race, watch the Truck Series race, and then you get a Kansas concert to go on top of it.
Yeah, and candidly, you know what? If you're not a big race fan but you like Kansas, I'll sell you a concert ticket and I'll throw in the race for free. How's that?
That'll work out. You come back the next day and you got the Xfinity Series Iowa 250 with all the big Xfinity Series guys.
You really do, and I think that really is one of the real draws for this particular race, in my opinion, because you really do get the chance to see the best Xfinity Series drivers in action when they're on the track here. You pointed out Iowa natives. Again, we got Michael Annett. Michael Annett won his first Xfinity Series race earlier this year in Daytona, so he's been riding a pretty good wave on that. He's in great competitive junior motorsports equipment. So we're excited to have him come out of Junior Motorsports. Won our event last year with Justin Allgaier in one of our events, and we're excited to have them out here and see what they can do, and we think that they'll certainly have the hometown crowd really cranked up. I do want to go back and mention something else about our Gander Outdoor Truck Series race. It's part of NASCAR's Triple Truck Challenge this year.
Oh, yeah.
And just for perspective, the thing that's going on that weekend is if you think about it like the Triple Crown of horse racing, we wind up being kind of the Preakness in that mix. We're the the pivotal race. So whoever wins down at Texas is going to come here, and they have to win here in order to be eligible then for the $500,000 bonus they could get by winning the next week down in St. Louis. So it's 3 races right in a row, and you can bet that you're going to have drivers who the driver who wins at Texas is going to pull out all the stops to win here, but all the other drivers are going to pull out all the stops, try to make him not win, because that's the only way that they are eligible for an extra payout. Because if you win 3 of 3, you get $500,000. If you win 2 of 3, then you get like $200,000. So everybody's going to want their piece of it along the way. So that's going to be an exciting piece as we go into the Xfinity race. And then when the Xfinity race, to your point, rolls around, now you get to see the type of racing that this track was built for. The aerodynamics come into play. It's full-bodied stock cars, and it's some of the best in the business who are working their way up. And when you think about guys who have won here and have gone on to the other series and are doing so well, obviously Joey Logano comes to mind first off. Carl Edwards, who was here certainly years ago. Ricky Stenhouse won 2 races in a row here. So from the standpoint of those people who come and cut their teeth in this series and come here and race, fans get a chance to see them and see the raw talent on a really good racetrack in that series.
And the way that Ricky Stenhouse won his second race there was the most unique win. I mean, stuff that's been scattered amongst NASCAR history. The fact he blew his engine coming out of turn 4. Carl Edwards rear ends him because he was in the muck. He couldn't move the car at all. Pushes him across the start finish line, and the guy Ricky Stenhouse wins.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's just the kind of stuff that if you wrote it into a movie, nobody would believe it.
You're right. But this stuff happens, and this stuff happens at a place like this. And we try to be reasonable. We start our ticket prices out at $20. If you haven't bought Dad a Father's Day present, here's the time to do it. It's you start at $20 and come in and spend the day with us here. Short drive from Omaha to come over and spend the day, and have a nice evening show and make a weekend of it. We've got some camp spots left if you want to come camp with us and have the concert in the back pocket as well, because it really is going to be a great, great family weekend.
I highly encourage the weekend. And again, like you said, it's coming up the 15th and 16th with 3 big events: the Gander Outdoor Truck Series, the Napa Auto Parts Concert Series with Kansas, and then the Xfinity Series. One of my favorite races moves to a Saturday night, the Iowa Corn 300, and it's going to be highlighted on Friday night, July 19th, the ARCA Menards Series Fans with Benefits 150. What's this fans with benefits? My girlfriend doesn't like that kind of a term.
Well, she'd love this term. So what we do is fans who are part of our season ticket package, who, again, greatest fans in the world, buy our season ticket packages, come out here for all the events that we have. We do some random upgrades for a number of those season ticket holders. And you can still buy season tickets right now. And they start as low as $99. And if you think about that, 6 races, 3 weekends, $99 is an entry price point for a season ticket. Really, really efficient pricing. But we do some random giveaways. You may get a seat upgrade. You may get reserved parking. You may get a fan walk pass. The list goes on. But we just create some random prizes and actually do it with a random drawing of our fans who buy season tickets and give them the opportunity to step up. So we thought this is a good way to promote that program, just like other sponsors who come in, like Menards, who uses the series and who we're doing some other ticket-related promotions with, use the series to build their brands. We feel like this is a great opportunity to let people know about Fans with Benefit. And you never know what you're going to get, when you're going to get it, and for which races it will come. But we, on average, probably about 30% of our season ticket holders every year get some sort of beneficial upgrade as part of our Fans with Benefits program.
That's awesome. Going on that weekend, also, the Napa Auto Parts Concert Series presents Dokken. Not a real popular band, but a real staple when it comes to classic rock, and just some great classic rock, too.
Well, and that's the same thing. When you just think about getting something that fans, getting acts in here that the fans can enjoy, can sing along with, can participate, have a good time, wind down. Again, these happen after our support races. They're inside the gates. We have our Napa concert stage right outside Turn 4, and fans can just kind of wander over. If they're camping, that's great. If they're driving home that night, that's fine too. Just a very casual atmosphere, but designed to have a good time, let your hair down, and enjoy another part, excuse me, of the weekend. And
funny that you're choking up on let your hair down part.
Well,
we're all starting to get to the age we don't have a lot of that left.
Hey, this is radio. Don't tell people that kind of thing. I have the hair for radio. I have the face for radio.
That's right.
But you're right. I mean, just kind of you go down and have a good time with it, and that's really what this is all about, and why when we go down our list and say who's available to come and do this, and how Dokken certainly makes the cut, and a couple of folks on our staff here were really excited to see that. They're like, man, that's just a great band to hang with. It's just a great band to party with. So
yeah.
We're excited to have them here for that night. And then obviously you brought up the fact that we're going to roll into our IndyCar race, which is going to be returning under the light. Fans wanted it. They asked for it. And we said, okay, well, let's try to figure it out. We started talking with IndyCar, came up with the idea and they liked the idea, but they had to move our date in order to accomplish that. So we're coming off the weekend that's nearest, the 4th of July, and moving it later in the month, which sets us up for what we're calling Iowa Speed Week. So that weekend actually kicks off Iowa Speed Week, and ideally, and what you'll see releasing in the not-too-distant future, are some other activities and things that are going to go on in the week between that race and the next weekend, which is our season-ending race weekend for our NASCAR Xfinity Series and the NASCAR K&N Series. But we're trying to, again, throw out some benefits to all of our fans there, with some opportunities in and around the community, here at the racetrack, and having people to camp all week if they want, no extra charges to do that. If you're a seasoned camper, you just pull in on weekend one, and you get to leave it there, stay in it if you want, go home and leave it, we'll secure it, and come back the next weekend if you want. The idea is make it easy for you and have the idea to do that. So that weekend kicks that off, and it's going to kick off with that exciting night race for the Indy cars. And here's what I'm excited about. I've never seen as many times as I've seen races here from my prior life, as I mentioned, I was never here for an IndyCar race. So I never saw an IndyCar race at night here. And what I'm told is that at the speeds those guys reach, I mean, they're really the reason we're the fastest short track on the planet, because they get around this racetrack in a hurry. But I'm told that you can see at night, you can sometimes see contrails off those trailing wings on those cars.
Yeah, it's a beautiful sight, and I wish to heck we could have done it a different weekend. Unfortunately, I'm already booked for that weekend, so I can't make my annual trip over to Iowa Speedway as a spectator for the the IndyCar Iowa 300. That night race is going to be amazing. I love watching the IndyCars at Iowa Speedway. It's kind of a starstruck moment when you're looking at the same cars that just raced at the Indy 500, and they're competing right in your backyard at Iowa Speedway.
Yeah, that is such the cool thing. And a lot of people, they have to get their head around that. If you're not a typical race fan, if you are that guy that tunes in on Memorial Day because it's like a traditional day of racing. It's like watching the Masters in golf. You've got to watch the events that happen on Memorial Day in motorsports, which starts with F1 down in Monaco in France, or in the Principality of Monaco, on the border of France and Switzerland. But when you then roll into the Indy 500, that is the American tradition. That's the greatest spectacle in racing, and it draws so much attention. And they had a great race this year. Maybe one of the best races, and certainly one of the best finishes that I've seen there in a long time. Very, very competitive. And you suddenly think, those guys are coming to town. I get to see those guys. And the cool thing with IndyCar as well is they orchestrate a very nice opportunity for you to meet and greet.
Yeah, they're very accessible.
Very accessible. And you have the chance to get autographs with virtually all the drivers. They set up a tent out on our midway where they'll come out at the same time, and they all just kind of sit in their station, and you get a chance to walk through and meet the field. And that's very unique to the IndyCar series, and it is also very unique to our fans here, because when you think about our size and scope, we can only get so many people in the place. So almost everybody has their opportunity and their chance to go meet those drivers. And I highly encourage that.
You seem to be a little bit of a glutton for punishment. I've watched the inner workings of a race weekend at one of these big tracks like Iowa and at Kansas, and it takes a good while to clean everything up, to reorganize everything, but you guys have left yourself mere days because the K&N Pro Series and the Xfinity Series will roll in for your final weekend, the 26th on Friday and the 27th on Saturday, and then you've got Earl Dibbles Jr., a great country artist.
Yeah, I tell you what, that weekend I think is just going to be a big fun weekend. And we joked, we said, hey, if Daytona can do speed weeks at the first of the year, by golly, midsummer we can do it here. And that's kind of our approach going at it. At Daytona they run a couple weeks back to back and put a lot in the week, and we feel like we can do the same thing. And we're hoping to really again draw a crowd to participate in some of the things we're doing during the week. We're going to have a charity golf tournament that's going to happen on Thursday. We're currently lining up some celebrities, some drivers and such to come play in the tournament. And, it's open. Public can buy their foursome to come and join us and potentially play with some of the folks that we'll have joining us. We don't have the full lineup ready to release yet, but we're working in conjunction with the United Way and the Friends of Newton Parks here in Newton in order to put this golf tournament on. That'll be on Thursday leading into the weekend. And as you mentioned, Earl Dibbles Jr., so that concert, which will be an interesting, I think, concert, that act was also at Talladega earlier this year. And my friends in Talladega shared with me some of the concert antics, and I don't want to give away too much because I think that giving you just enough to know that it is an enjoyable crowd interaction program. Granger Smith with Earl Dibbles Jr. is an outstanding, entertaining, crowd-involved show and up-and-coming country artist, and you need to come see that. Again, if nothing else, come out and let me sell you a concert ticket, and I'll give you the race for free because you'll be entertained for that show once it follows our K&N, our Casey's 150 K&N NASCAR race, and I think that you'll really have a good time with that.
You had me sold at Antics in Talladega.
Hey,
done.
Anybody goes and performs at Talladega, they're going to bring a good show. Trust me on that.
You guys are doing a fantastic job. Can't say it enough. I'll never say it enough. IowaSpeedway.com for more tickets and information. Get your season passes. Like David said, just $99 for a season pass. 3 weekends, 6 races, 3 concerts. It's going to be an amazing time over at Iowa's fastest track. Always do love having you on the show, David.
Dan, thank you. Appreciate your time, your listeners' time. Folks, come out and see us. We love to grip and grin with you and go to a concert or two and maybe see some good racing. So IowaSpeedway.com will give you all the details. So thank you again, Dan.
And by the way, thanks for partnering with us on the Crewman for a Day contest that's going to be happening for the July 27th race, the Xfinity Series race.
That's right.
It's an amazing experience. You've been inside the sport for a long time, so you know what Dirk and I get to see what these fans ahead of time are going to experience. It's an incredibly unique, extremely exciting experience.
It is. And just simply getting behind the scenes, if you've never done it, is eye-opening, if nothing else.
Yep. Amen. Thank you, sir. We'll see you in a couple of weeks at Iowa's Iowa Speedway.
Hey,
now I'm getting all crossed up.
The longest race name. We think it's the longest race name in the history of the sport. To start us off, the NASCAR Gander Outdoor Truck Series M&M's 200, presented by Casey's General Store. How'd I do?
You did a lot better than I did. And apparently you don't have to pay by the letter for billboards and stuff.
Thank God for vinyl wraps these days, right?
Yes, sir. All right, have a great weekend. Thanks a lot for your time. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Dan.
Bye. That was David Hyatt, track president for Iowa Speedway, brought to you by Redhook Fabrication, offering powder coating at an affordable price. Get your full chassis powder coated for just $275. That is for a bare frame. Any reworking or sandblasting that needs to be done, there's going to be a little bit more labor and time involved in it. So get a free estimate from Jordan today, 712-623-4911, or email him jordanf@redhookfabrication.com. Not just for race parts, everyday parts and pieces. Redhook Fabrication can take care of you with any any powder coating needs. Highly durable, corrosive-free, chemical corrosive-free. It's a great product. Take advantage of it today. Jordan F. at RedOakFabrication.com or 712-623-4911. We're going to preview today's race at Pocono just around the corner in Turn 4. We'll be back on the front stretch.
First Detail Supply at 102nd and J offers you the same professional-grade products that are used in detail shops across the United States. With the high-quality detail products and the guidance you'll receive from First Detail Supply, your car, truck, motorcycle, or boat will shine with a lasting finish. Find out more about First Detail Supply by stopping in at 102nd and J Street or check out firstdetailsupply.com. Don't forget to mention Front Stretch and receive 10% off your purchase.
Racers all over the country are discovering the benefits of powder coating their chassis. Powder coating offers a clean, even finish you will be proud to show off to fans and sponsors. Plus, it's a more durable surface. While looking beautiful, powder coating offers superior protection against corrosive chemicals typically spilled during routine maintenance. Bare frames start at $275 with estimates available if blasting or reworking is needed. Get your quote today by emailing Jordan F. at RedOakFabrication.com or by calling 712-623-4911.
Hey, look at that. You're sitting on your couch playing Halo, Madden, or NASCAR while your friends are at Joe's Karting. Each lap is an adrenaline-filled, heart-pumping, white-knuckle experience that you can only get at the Metro's largest indoor karting track. Eco-friendly Honda engines rip you around the professionally designed road course at breakneck speeds. Can you reach the 14-second lap bracket? There's only one way to find out. Put the controller down and get to Joe's Karting, 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs next to Quaker Steak and Lube.
It's checkers or wreckers as we enter Turn 4 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs.
Just about ready to wrap this baby up. Want to say thanks to Quaker Steak and Lube, the official watering hole of the front stretch. All of today's action can be seen on the big screens of Quaker Steak and Lube. Starting at 12:30, all picks are due by 12:30 today, so make sure you get your picks for today's race at Pocono in on time, and don't miss that. Also coming up, let's see, Tuesday night is all-you-can-eat wings at Quaker Steak and Lube. Wednesday night's your typical bike night. With Thursday night, classic car night, and then you have your Friday, Saturday. It's just no real big specials because there's so many people that go there and eat. But all the sporting action on the big screens at Quaker Steak and Lube on Sundays, including the NASCAR races. And if you want to watch Lucas Oil TV, they usually have it on the screens in the Brickyard. Just ask to be seated in the Brickyard close to one of those TVs, and they'll accommodate you, of course.
And on June 11th, they are hosting the area's most magnificent cornhole tournament.
Yep, and unfortunately, it's all sold out, but they're going to be doing it again. The plan is we're going to do it on a monthly basis, and if it keeps selling out, we'll do it on a every other week basis, and we'll keep going from there.
Supply and demand.
As people are wanting to do it more and more. I was surprised. We got 32 teams that signed up for it, but it's going to be a lot of fun coming up. And if you want to come down, you're welcome to. It's all-you-can-eat wings night, $14.95, and you can hang out and watch and hang out with Big Party and Jeff, and I'll be down there kind of doing the cornhole too. I don't get to play because they're afraid I'm going to win because I'm so good at
that's what they're
things.
afraid of.
So they're not letting me play. Hey, looking at the race today at Pocono, once again, the coverage is on FS1 and MRN. It's also on the big screens at Quaker Steak and Lube. The race this time last year, and remember, Pocono is one of those racetracks that we go to in June, and then like 5 or 6 weeks later, we come right back to again. So the early race, this race last year, Martin Truex Jr. picked up the win. Kyle Larson came home in second. Kyle Busch third. Kevin Harvick fourth. And Brad Keselowski fifth. Keep in mind that was when Martin Truex Jr. was with the 78 team, but they seem to be firing on all cylinders now. Then he's in the 19 at Joe Gibbs Racing. Brad Keselowski, like I said, came home in fifth. Ryan Blaney in sixth. Eric Almirola seventh. Jimmy Johnson eighth. Joey Logano ninth. And Chase Elliott with a top 10 finish. Rough day for Casey Kane, who finished 36th. Denny Hamlin, who finished 35th. Eric Jones, who finished 29th. Newman, 25th. Suarez, 24th. Ty Dillon, 23rd. Kind of rough days for those guys. Martin Truex Jr. won stage 1. Kevin Harvick won stage number 2, and Martin Truex Jr. able to pick up stage number 3, otherwise known as the race win. 57 points on the day. He led 2 times for 31 laps. The big race leader, though, was Kevin Harvick, 4 times for 89 laps.
And I just hope we get some good weather because the Pocono races are like rain haven for some reason.
Yeah.
It just seems that way. That's why you've seen some of the odder wins come at this track. And, guys will stay out and thinking it's going to rain and whatnot, and it does, and they kind of backdoor into a win. But still, when you're winning at this level, you're out there competing with them, so every win counts.
Like I said, once again, coverage at 12:30. Race starts at 1 o'clock today at Quaker Steak and Lube. Make sure you get over to the Lube and enjoy the race. We do have a little bit of audio thanks to our buddies over at NASCAR. Joey Logano talked a little bit about today's race. Here's him giving his thoughts on Pocono today.
Well, it's the longest straightaway in NASCAR. That's what I know every time I go there. That's what they say. So you have a long time to draft down the front straightaway and really down Long Pond straightaway. You have a long time for the cars to suck up to each other before you get into the corners. So I don't really know what to expect. I expect restarts to be nuts.
And I think Kyle Busch agreed, because here's Kyle Busch's first thoughts. When he first starts talking about it, he's talking about the same thing with the restarts being nuts.
I think restarts are obviously going to be interesting. You go down the front straightaway, everybody fans out. That some guys push. Pushing is a big deal now because of how much drag the cars have when you can put two engines together essentially on one car. That's what's happening when you're pushing, because the air over the first car doesn't have time to go down and hit the rear spoiler. It keeps going straight across both roofs and only hits one rear spoiler. That's why it's faster to push. So, guys will be doing a heck of a lot more of that. And, bump draft is going to be important down the straightaways stuff with coming out of turn 1, going down into turn 2.
And here's more thoughts from Joey Logano on today's race at Pocono.
You might be going down the straightaway, but you're still racing. Right? There's cars around you. You're getting your run on the car in front of you. You're thinking about how you're going to get through the corner. Maybe you're side by side. You're side drafting. There's a car behind you. Maybe if you're side drafting, it's going to go 3 wide, maybe even 4 wide. There is a lot of racing down the straightaways these days with this 550 package. There's a lot going on all the time.
I think these two guys have highlighted some things you're going to see in today's race, that when we come on a restart and we get around there and they're finally up to full speed coming out of turn 3 and down that straightaway, I think you're going to see some 3 and 4 wide racing as guys are jockeying for position.
Oh, always do. Always do. This is one of the few tracks guys shift at, and some shift, some don't. So that's always an added factor into the race. It kind of gets to a longevity deal, and whether or not a few years ago, I think Dale Earnhardt blew an engine with a missed shift, and Kevin Harvick missed a shift and just kept right on racing. So, that's just another element to this track.
Get your picks in on time. 12:30 is the deadline. NASCARPoolsOnline.com. Don't forget to get signed up for the Iowa Speedway Crewman for a Day contest. That's going to start next Sunday, so your deadline is a little over a week away. Make sure you get your picks in. Not over a week away. It is a week away, period. Make sure you get your picks in on time for today's race. Make sure you join the Iowa Speedway Crewman for a Day contest. By the way, next Sunday, we're going to go through a little bit more in depth about what that contest is. But if you are a part of the Kansas Speedway contest, take the format, take the experience, put it over at Iowa Speedway. Give yourself just a little bit more, because NASCAR's a little more relaxed with some of the rules at the Xfinity Series race. So you're going to have a great time, and we highly encourage you to join that free contest. Thanks to Rick Havenridge of Wealth Partners for providing us that contest for free. Hey, before we wrap up today's show, there's a couple of things we wanted to cover as far as news and notes in the NASCAR world and around the racing community, because there's been a lot of things that have happened, so we figured it'd be a good online extra to talk about a couple of them. Let's start off locally. I'm going to stall just a little bit as I wait for my webpage to the internet computer to finally react. I'm trying to pull up the now formulated plan to make up portions of the Charlie Clark Memorial that was rained out last Sunday. So while in the pits at I-80, I got to give my bosses credit and take it for what it's worth. Maybe I'm just brown-nosing a little bit with my bosses, but Joe and Lisa were incredibly active with letting the drivers know what's going on, what the plan is, and within 35 minutes of calling the races, those pits were empty. They had everybody out, and it was just sprinkling a little bit, but it was because of the lightning is the reason why we inevitably had to cancel the races. But hats off to those guys, because they knew there was rain on the way, or they knew there were storms in the area. It wasn't until the lightning struck that they said, okay, we got to get them out of the grandstands. And I was talking with Joe later, and he goes, I think we can still be racing right now, but that lightning. And I said, yeah, and what happened with the people at Pocono a few years back at the NASCAR races, that makes you evacuate the grandstands quickly.
Well, I mean, you just think about something like the College World Series, because it's happened a few times, and it happened during the Big Ten tournament here. When that Lightning's within 10 miles of that stadium, they shut everything down and try and get people undercover. Because, that would be, such a tragedy. I went to a dirt race and got struck by lightning. What?
Yeah.
How does that work?
You and I have talked about it way too much over the last couple of weeks. We've dealt with enough stuff in the racing community.
Oh.
What I want to deal with for the next 10 years or so is race results.
Checkered flags.
That's all I want to deal with. I don't want to hear about anything else. So let that be a notice to anybody out there that decides they don't need a Hans device, or they don't need the proper safety equipment, or they don't need to pay attention when walking through the pits. No, we need good stories coming out. All right, the plan for the Charlie Clark Memorial. Now, just to give you a little bit of a recap, they were able to complete all of the heat races and all of the B features. So according to their rain policy, the race is official.
Correct.
They don't have to do anything, but obviously they know that these drivers have paid for the pits, and it's a special race. So the modified and stock car features for the Chandler Clark Memorial will be made up on Friday, July 5th. The feature lineups are set, and only the cars locked into the feature from the May 26th will be running these two features. The Sprint Series and Nebraska feature will be made up on Saturday, September 7th, along with the Casey's Midwest Fall Brawl and their feature lineup. So there'll be double features for the Race Saver 305s. You look like you had a question.
In September.
In September, correct. On the Midwest Fall Brawl, that's September 7th. Unfortunately, because the race was official, according to the rain policy that has been such for years, the tickets that you had for the Charlie Clark Memorial are used. So if you want to see the feature for the Charlie Clark Memorial regarding the modifieds or the stock cars, you're going to have to purchase a ticket for the July 5th race and watch them then. So that's the unfortunate thing about when rain comes, but just about everybody I know has policies like that. It's, NASCAR, once they get past stage 2, the race is official. You don't get tickets to the next weekend's race to make up for it, or 4 or 5 races down the road, or maybe the second time the series is there. You got 3/4 of the race, you're good. And
in the dirt track world, it's once the heats are complete, that's a program. It always has been, and I've been going to these races since for over 50 years, and that's just always been the policy.
And I'm trying to remember if I-80s is heats plus any B features. And I think the B features are included because they want to get the A feature locked before they call it. But I could be wrong. It kind of varies just slightly.
I just think the actual rain-out policy, like I said, it's always been that I'm aware of is once the heat races are done, the program's considered, it's technically at intermission. So, we did our part, and Mother Nature screwed us up. So come back next week and see your double features, or, on a weekly show. This is obviously a little bit different deal, so they got to plan these features a little further ahead, because of some of the guys in from out of town and whatnot that I'm sure are still in this.
Yeah, like Kelly Shryock, that he won it last year and looks like he has a very strong car this year. He only comes to the Iowa Speedway for 2 races because it's a 400-mile round trip for him. He doesn't get to come over here as often as he likes to because he does enjoy the track. He comes over for the USMTS portion of the Silver Dollar Nationals and the Charlie Clark Memorial. So trying to find a date that would work for him that wouldn't interfere with anything he's trying to do, or Jordan Grabowski or Dylan Smith or Ryan Jenkins or Jacob Hobscheider, the 20 other cars that were already locked into the feature. It's a difficult thing to do, and you're inevitably going to violate somebody else's other plans, but I-80's good about working with the drivers to make things right. So there's your plan for the Charlie Clark Memorial. If you want more details on that, follow I-80 Speedway on Facebook. They've got a post with all the information there. We were talking about it a little bit before the show got kicked off, and we'd heard about this when we were down in Kansas a few weeks back, that NASCAR may be going to electric/hybrid cars a little sooner than we thought. I figured it would probably be a 5-year, maybe a 6-year deal. Sounds like it might be coming a little bit sooner.
Well, they're not really saying, they're just saying the earliest it would be is 2021. So that's not saying it is 2021. It's just not going to be any time before that. And a hybrid car, when you think about it, is still a gas engine vehicle with a great big battery stuck somewhere that uses the battery at the low speed things. Like a hybrid car would be great if you lived in a downtown type area and never left.
Right.
Because you'd run on just the electricity. You wouldn't be running on the gas motor very often.
Well, and I was thinking about this too. For NASCAR's case, it would come under it would help them the most under caution.
Well, I don't know where they're going to fit this battery in that's going to power a car at 50-plus miles an hour, and there's no way that they are going to run these cars around the track under caution at 23 or 24 mile an hour, which is what a hybrid runs on the road right now. You get to 25 and up, and the gas motor kicks in.
You know, you would think at best, understanding how hybrids work, which is a limited understanding, but they should be able to do 3 or 4 caution laps at full speed, at 50 miles an hour, whatever their caution speed is, under a battery powered. And then once they go back to green, the gas power kicks back in. And while they're running 30, 40, 50, however many laps under green, it's recharging that battery.
Well, that will be the plan. But where are they going to put this monstrous several 100-pound battery at in this race car?
They got a lot of room in the trunk.
Well,
in that, what do they call that? The greenhouse, the area in the right behind the driver. They could put it there. Now, it's going to throw the weight of the car off considerably.
Yeah, see, that's my guess is the technology that they're going to come out with will be something that doesn't use a monstrous battery like all this other stuff and is running maybe off the alternator, but there's got to be a source to keep the power. It's just got to be some smaller type of battery they're trying to develop, and even if it weighs 50 pounds, that's just a lot of weight on these cars.
I'm really excited about this for the fact that, first off, I'm trying to be more green and trying to reduce my carbon footprint. So this makes me excited. But the bigger part that makes me excited about it is that NASCAR has been innovators for 30 years in automotive. Whether it be one of the first interviews we did on this show was with Dr. Dean Sicking, who helped invent the safer barriers. And a lot of the information they pulled from creating those safer barriers has been implemented on our interstate systems and our roadways. Understanding how cars collapse in an impact, understanding how they can create barriers that benefit cars rather than just being a wall that creates more damage than it does good.
Well, the cars collapsing on impact, those studies were done long before that. But you see a lot of the redesigned guardrail systems and things like that have come out of the studies done down in Lincoln.
So I'm hoping that if NASCAR is able to implement this hybrid system, that the teams and the manufacturers will then pour a bunch of money into research and development and create some sort of, like you were talking about, a highly efficient battery, a source of power, something. Maybe NASCAR can be the industry that creates this missing link between fuel and electric vehicles that we've been missing, that we've been needing to make that gap a little bit better. That's my hope for it. Hope in one hand and what in the other, and see which one fills up first. But I don't think it's unrealistic to think that NASCAR could be the innovators to this.
Yeah, they could be. And the nice part would be if some actual money came into NASCAR for some of the people that come up with some of this stuff.
You were talking about the Gen 7 car. They're talking about this hybrid probably wouldn't be ready for the Gen 7 car, which is scheduled to debut in 2021. Something that they're considering adding before the Gen 7 car. This could come as early as next season, is 2 components that NASCAR is considering adding. It's going to be a step splitter for next season. I didn't get a full understanding of what this thing was, but apparently they used it at the All-Star race and received incredibly positive feedback on it. It's a splitter radiator pan made of carbon fiber, and it's one single piece.
Which means if you tear the splitter off the car, now you're tearing the radiator pan off the car, which wouldn't be a good thing. So, that's got a plus and a minus, I guess, to it.
John Probst, who is NASCAR's Senior Vice President for Innovation and Racing Development, says he says the feedback from the All-Star race in particular with respect to the step splitter has been very positive. Our next competition meeting with the teams, we may elect to have the discussion with them and see if they're interested in making it a part of the 2020 package. So that's all that was really available for that. We'll have to ask when we're over at Iowa Speedway if we can ask some of these teams if they know much more about it. But kind of this step splitter, I thought the splitter was going away in the Gen 7.
That's what they said. I mean, that's what they've been saying all along. So
maybe
somebody still thinks it needs to be there.
Now, I would assume that it's because there's a gap between the radiator pan and the splitter that it's causing air to seep up through that area. And then having a single piece would help suck the car back down a little bit more and add a little bit more downforce?
That I don't know because I've never been under the car. They didn't have the splitter back when I used to do it. So maybe they, whether there's a 6-inch gap between the two pieces, whether there's a 1/4 of an inch gap between the two pieces, I have no idea. So
Yeah.
I like the fact that the splitter was going to go away.
Me too.
But
so did everybody.
Yeah, I think so. Somebody for some reason doesn't want that to go. I don't know who that would be, but somebody somewhere in NASCAR's upper echelons, whether it's this Mr. Probst or who it happens to be, doesn't seem to want that splitter to go away. So
we talked about it earlier in the show that we've enjoyed the racing action in 2019. Seems like fans are too, with the elevated TV ratings, the ticket sales being a little bit better than we've seen in the past, and NASCAR also happy with the 2019 rules package. Here's a couple of statistics to throw at you. Through the first 13 races of the 2019 season, there's been 513 green flag passes for the lead, compared to 330 at this same point in 2018. That's a 55.5% increase. So 513 green flag passes to 330. That's a crazy number of increases.
Well, but I'd like to, you probably got it there somewhere. I want to know what the decrease in the number of caution flags is.
We saw a sharp decrease with the when they came out with the stage racing, because they were able to get out there on a regular basis and clean the track off, and the damaged car policy.
But this year, I know they're down on cautions. Now, Charlotte had a lot here for the 600, or it sure seemed like they did. But there's been a few races where they've, almost gone caution-free, and obviously you're going to run through a whole bunch of passes on green flag pit stops.
I don't know if you would have ran through a lot more of it. Well, green flag passes, because when you're doing your green flag stops. I see what you're going with there. I thought you were going somewhere else.
No, that's where I'm going. Because I don't believe on that, when they count those green flag passes, I think they've got a term that they use, quality pass, in there or something, where they only count the ones that are like in the top 15 positions or something like that. Somebody was explaining that to me one time, and I was like, oh, okay, well, that kind of changes my thoughts a little bit, but you have several laps where two guys will battle, and they'll change positions 3 times in one lap.
But this is 513 green flag passes for the lead. Okay, so there can only be 2 guys that can pass for the lead. Or 3 if it's 3 wide, or 4 if it's 4 wide, I guess. I take that back.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder on that last lap at the 600 the other night, or that last pass, you had Logano, you had Kyle Busch, you had Martin Truex, and I think Reagan was on the outside of that 4. But Kyle Busch, when they actually exited turn 2, Kyle Busch was in the lead. When they got to turn 3, Martin Truex was in the lead.
And we didn't see that at Charlotte last year. No. We saw leader take off, and he was gone.
But this was a deal where the leader had 40-lap-old tires, too. And as a matter of fact, the front row did, because him and Ryan Newman also had the used-up tires. 3
of the 13 races have produced record-setting green flag passes for the lead, that being Vegas, Bristol, and Kansas. 9 of the 13 races have an increase in green flag passes throughout the field. The average number of official lead changes made at the start-finish line per race is at 19.92 as an I assume that's an average.
That's what it said.
Compared to an average of 16.5 last season, so up an average of 3 per race. So some good numbers coming out. You do kind of wonder, there's other factors that feed into this that maybe changes, but honestly, that 513 to 330 is a huge number, and that's I like that number a lot. That's a massive increase. I really don't know what else to say to that.
Yeah, it's basically 2/3. So,
according to my Iowa math, not reading the screen here, 55.5%. I might have read the screen.
So, and I said basically. That's pretty close to 66.7.
Yeah, but I got close. I got the exact number, 55.5%.
And you might have read that wrong.
True. Good news coming out of Roush Fenway Racing. Man, when I heard this, I got happy for him, because how many times have we heard issues coming out of Roush Fenway Racing? Sponsors not renewing, reducing their sponsorship, they're lowering the number of cars on the field. But they're announcing a new sponsor coming to them. NOS Energy is going to be sponsoring Ricky Stenhouse Jr. for a portion of races over the next couple of years, and going to be racing. Let's see, their first scheduled is June 9th at Michigan is when they're going to hit the 17 car. Really cool design. I like the look of that car.
Yeah. Did you see, you talk about cool designs on cars, did you see Ryan Newman's throwback scheme for the 6th car for Darlington.
I didn't see a picture of it, but I heard about it.
I mean, it's still the Oscar Mayer colors, but it's a Valvoline throwback scheme. It's really cool.
I thought I saw that it was a Mark Martin tribute car, too.
Well, yeah, because that was when Mark Martin drove that Valvoline and that paint scheme. I mean, it was a red, white, and blue paint scheme with Valvoline, where now it's the orange, red, and yellow.
Yeah.
But it really looks good.
Going back to the NOS Energy announcement with Roush Fenway Racing, this announcement is, I think, the prime example of why NASCAR isn't going back to a title sponsor for the Cup Series. They've typically, NOS Energy would not have been allowed to, if they left the sport, be allowed to come back in. So we saw this with Sprint a couple of years ago. Alltel was grandfathered in until they left, and then Alltel wasn't able to renew. Because the title sponsor gets exclusivity on their brand of category. Monster Energy being obviously an energy drink, and so is NOS. They're competing brands. So NOS would have had to continue to stay with the sport and at a limited level because they wouldn't have been able to increase any from what their current contract is. This is a roundabout way of saying that NASCAR not renewing the title sponsorship with Monster Energy has allowed them to open up and allowed NOS and other energy drinks to expand their sponsorship and be a little bit more flexible with what they're doing in the NASCAR Cup Series. So this is one of the prime examples of why NASCAR wanted to go to this different sponsorship system, because then they were able to allow the teams and the tracks to open up more sponsorship opportunities.
Well, and this is just some of the new generation thinking that they've got coming in.
Right.
You know, it's not, a France sitting up there at the top and going, we're doing it this way. You know, they're starting to listen to people, and, times are changing. You know, we don't have Winston anymore being able to pay all our bills.
Yeah.
So
Winston can't pay many bills. Well, they're still filthy rich. They're just not as rich as they used to be.
And I don't know if they still give free cigarettes. All the officials, if you were a smoker, every race you showed up at, they brought you a couple cartons of cigarettes.
Wow.
I'm dead serious.
Back in the day.
First time I saw that, I'm like, what is that guy doing? This guy's walking around with a wagon full of cigarettes, and he'd go up to this official and give him a couple cartons, and this official and give him a couple cartons, and that's just part of the sponsorship package. Cool.
Wow. The times have changed. They don't do that anymore. There's a lot of Monster Energy in the pits, but I don't think it's all given out for free.
Yeah, I don't know if it is or not. I'm sure there's a couple deals, especially, with Kurt Busch's program. I'm sure there's a container of Monster over there. And
good deal for Roush Fenway Racing, though. NOS Energy has been a part of the sport for quite a while, and they have sponsored Kyle Busch and Kurt Busch and Kyle Busch Motorsports, and a little bit with Stuart Haas and a little bit with Joe Gibbs. So a good deal with them, but they're coming on as a full primary sponsor for Ricky Stenhouse Jr.'s number 17 car.
Yep, it's a good deal. I mean, they've been good to the sport, and hopefully they're going to continue to be good for the sport in years coming. And we know that Roush can use the help.
Absolutely, Roush could use the help.
I want to go back to something that I didn't get to touch on a minute ago. You moved on a little too quick for me, but when we were talking about the hybrid stuff coming up.
Yeah.
Did you happen to go in and read some of the 2,500 comments on that article?
No, I don't read comments on Facebook anymore.
Well, I don't get into the comments, but I like to read the comments, and I was going in there, and I'll bet 95% of them, if they go hybrid, I'm not going to watch no more. I've been watching since I was 12 years old, and they start going electric cars, I'm done. What are they going to do, put a tape recorder on them to make them go vroom? And just on and on and on. And then finally somebody came in with half a brain and said, all you people have been complaining about is you want NASCAR to go back to a manufactured car. Well, about half the cars on the road anymore are hybrids.
Right.
And now you're going to complain about that.
I hate to break it to everybody, but, I mean, the times are coming that if NASCAR continues to do what they did, we've had a long discussion about this. They did not change with the times nearly as fast as the other sports, and they're paying for it now.
Well, what they're paying for was 15 years ago when they decided to put that goofy wing spoiler on the back of a car and drove about half the people away, trying to make it look like a rice grinder, a street racing Honda Civic or something like that. And I mean, that was the start of the destruction of their fan base. It really was. People took that to heart and were very upset with that. And they've started to get some of those people back. And I mean, like I said, that we talked about earlier about the TV viewership going up. So we know they're doing things and heading in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying. Believe me, folks,
yeah.
they're changing everything every week trying to get viewers back.
How much have we heard people complaining about, they got to quit changing things. I can't keep up with this stuff. Who cares? Are they racing on Sunday? Did you enjoy the racing action?
And they went around in circles. They didn't start turning right. They're not doing right-hand ovals.
Well, they kind of are.
Well,
No, not ovals. They are turning right at a roval now, but
the
that's a
road
welcome
courses
change.
they've always had.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just saying they didn't turn around and start racing the other way at Bristol or at Charlotte or anything like that. They're
Right.
not, making right-hand turns now. It's still racing. You don't have to worry about what the rules are. The car passed tech, and now he's in line, and now they're racing.
Right.
What difference does it make if they changed 63 rules or didn't change any? It didn't affect your day one bit.
And I'll keep going back to NFL, NBA, golf, WNBA. All these sports change rules on a regular basis, but they don't publicize them like NASCAR does, which I don't quite understand why NASCAR continues to do that, but at least they're being upfront and honest, and they're kind of being public about that stuff.
I think the reason NASCAR does that is basically for the sponsors. You're spending, $15 million advertising on this race car, and now you want to know why he's got to go to the back after he won the pole.
Yeah.
Well, there was a rule change, and your guys didn't quite comply with this, and this. And that's why NASCAR's so, what do you want me to use the word, transparent about all this stuff. I mean, 15 years ago, that was one of the reasons when NASCAR decided to go to locking down the field, and you're in the race if you're in the top 36 in point.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
basically the provisionals.
Well, they still have the 7. Now they've got 4 provisionals, but they had 7 provisionals at the time. But when they were qualifying at every race, and somebody might crash and might not make the show because they didn't have a provisional because they were a new team from the year before.
Mm-hmm.
What's the term I'm using where these they got their membership thing now?
Charter.
There we go. That's where the charter came from. Couldn't think of what that goofy word they used. But when all that stuff started coming in, that was all for the sponsors.
Yeah, and we may be getting a little bit off subject, but I think that also had to do with ensuring that their stars made the race. And I'm pretty sure it was one of the first years you were on the show. There was the first 6 races of the year, because Dale Earnhardt Jr. had wrecked at Daytona. There was a very good chance Dale Earnhardt Jr. would not have made the starting grid had he had an issue in qualifying in the first 6 races.
Well, they've had the charter that long, so since I've been on the show, the charter's been into effect. So might have been one of your first years when you started, but even before that, they had the guarantee of the people being, the top 35 or whatever it was being in the show.
Yeah, and the way it used to be was that you went off of... First 5 races of the year, you went off the previous year's owner points.
Correct.
Okay. And I remember the scary, not really necessarily scary, but the situation of, they talked about it on the race broadcast, that there is a chance that Dale Earnhardt Jr. would not have been able to make one of the races. Something to do with him being ineligible, because maybe, I can't remember what it was. For the life of me, I can't remember it. But then all of a sudden, they came out with some new rules, and then the charter system came around, and you had guaranteed starting positions. I think it was very smart of them, because had we gone through a phase where Dale Earnhardt Jr. didn't qualify for a race, that would have been a catastrophe for that weekend's race. Sponsors wouldn't have gotten their money worth. It would have been a catastrophe for Hendrick. The ratings would have gone down. The ticket sales would have gone down. We saw it when Dale Earnhardt Jr. was out. There was a dip in ratings and ticket sales because people wanted to tune in to see that 88 car.
But it happens, at your weekly track. There's a time when, the star... doesn't make the feature. It's few and far between. You blow a motor, whatever it happens to be. That's why guys started bringing backup cars, and there's all kinds of goofy rules for backup cars at weekly shows.
But even those guys, you still got to see them race in a heat race.
Maybe.
At Dale Earnhardt, you didn't get to see.
Might have blown up in heat laps.
Yeah, you're. Yeah.
Yeah. I could have crashed in heat laps and just destroyed a car.
Yeah.
There's so many things. That's what would put an interesting spin on a big race like Charlotte. I was bored to death watching that whole race. It's just it's too long.
Sorry.
600.
I completely agree with you.
Too long.
I was laughing about something else. I'm reading some of the comments on that hybrid now. And let me tell you, the English is not.
Oh, it's not.
It took a hit.
There's a redneck version.
Grammar took a hit. NASCAR might as well just closes the doors.
Yeah, that's.
maybe you ought to go back to school.
How many comments are on there now? It was like 2.7 thousand or something, 2,700 of them when I looked at it earlier.
Just the one I'm looking at is from NBC. Is 670 comments.
Oh, so that's how long ago was that posted?
4 hours ago.
Okay, yeah, that wasn't even up when I was looking. So yeah, that's a different set of comments than the one.
They
But it
must
sounds
have
like the same
deleted
people.
Anyways, what you're I could play. It's time for the Coca-Cola 600 to go away.
Well, if it's going to be a 600, let's do something different. Let's make it a 300-mile feature, and let's do some qualifying races or something up front. You know? They could shorten these races, still keep the pit stop excitement and everything in there by making smaller fuel cells.
Mm-hmm.
You know, put a 12-gallon fuel cell in the car instead of 20 or 22.
Yeah. What makes the Coca-Cola 600 what it is simply the fact that it is the longest race on the schedule. You've got the fastest race on the schedule. You've got the shortest race on the schedule. You've got all those different things. What makes the Coca-Cola 600 special is that it is the longest race on the schedule. Unfortunately, the consumer, and I'll continue to push this until I'm blue in the face, the consumer has changed. You cannot have a 5-hour sporting event. Cannot have it. It's why I get frustrated at the Chili Bowl every year. When we sit down at Quaker Steak in January for the Chili Bowl, and we sit down at 8 o'clock at night, and they run 4 races in 3.5 hours. That is way too long for 4 races.
Yeah, I think it's 5 races, but the sentiment's the same. But that tends just to be a little bit different of a deal because they're racing indoors and they have to constantly work the track and they have to air out the facility. They've got different things going on the indoor race. So I can understand that to a little bit, but it is. It's just ridiculous to see what amounts to like 140 laps of racing, on a little tiny track that takes 12 seconds a lap.
And the time that it really stuck home to me was when we sat at Knoxville Raceway for the 410 Nationals. It was the Sprint Car Nationals.
Was that the rain night you're talking about? Or?
Yeah.
No, the rain night was the late models.
No, it wasn't the rain night. It was the night that we sat there in the grandstands and we literally looked at each other like, what is going on right now? They're not prepping the track. They're not doing anything in the pits. Nothing happened for a solid hour.
Well, they were just waiting for TV.
You can't do that.
Right.
You cannot have that long of a race. We went until 11:30 or midnight that night until the race got over with, when it could have been over at 10 or 10:30. I mean, Ben Shelton talks about it all the time. We got to get the races over in 2.5 hours. I know that Eagle Raceway pushes for that. I know I-80 Speedway pushes for that. Be over in 2 hours. You're probably actually going to be over in 3, depending on the number of cars and the number of cautions.
Well,
but shoot for 2 hours.
My number's 3.5 hours, and that's basically what pro sports are.
Mm-hmm.
People will sit at a pro football game, an NFL game, an NBA game, a baseball game. That 3 to 3.5 hour period, is what everybody's in.
I agree. I think you got to aim for 2. Knowing you're going to hit 3 to 3.5.
Well, you're not going to get the Daytona 500 over in 2 hours. That's not going to happen.
But you could. I'm not saying you do. You aim for it. You shoot for that number. You set your numbers up. You set your race up. You set the Coca-Cola 600 or whatever it is up to try to be over in 2 to 2.5 hours.
Well, then you've got the Coca-Cola 250.
Okay, but understanding that you're going to go over a little bit. The NFL probably does the same thing, knowing there's probably going to be overtime, and there's probably going to be timeouts, and there's going to be injuries, that they try to get their sporting events over in 2 hours. They time it out to be over in 2 hours, but then because of the circumstances of the sport, they get over in 3 to 3.5.
Well, no, I think the NFL, believe me, they don't even think about getting over between TV commercials and playtime and a halftime. You're well over 2 hours.
Okay.
Their time frame used to be 3 hours, but as the games progressed and incomplete passes and everything stopping the clock, they've changed rules to keep the clock running and other things like that. But now, I mean, most of your games are set up on a 3 hour and 15-minute TV time frame. So all you got to look at, with what they've got for TV timeouts and all the commercials and everything that's paying the league. But a lot of those games run easily to 3.5. But 3:15 is their number for an NFL game. Baseball is 3 hours, and baseball's gone to rules to get the pitcher to throw the ball instead of standing out there scratching himself and.
And that's one of the first times when you sat in the World Series game, and they were timing. You could time it 2.5 minutes between pitches.
Yeah,
that is an eternity today to sit and watch that. And
some guys drink a whole beer in that time.
My hands raised, by the way.
So
rough day at work. Absolutely, I've done that.
It does great for concession sales, but not everybody in that grandstand's a beer drinker.
But and even when it's perception too. When you perceive you're going to be at an event for 4 hours or 5 hours, what's the first thing you say to yourself? I don't know if I want to go out there for 4 hours.
I got to put on my Depends, so I don't have to get up out of my seat.
And you lose more than you gain. And anybody that says, "Well, I want cheaper tickets if they cut the races back," you know what? I'll gladly pay more for my tickets if it's a shorter race producing better racing action.
Yep.
I'll gladly pay for that all day.
Pay for the entertainment.
That's going to do it for us today. If you missed any part of today's show, you make sure you find it on YouTube in just a little bit. Want to say thanks to John and Chandler, the Smithberg boys, for joining us in turn number 1. April from the Sweet Cases Car Show going on next Sunday. And thanks to David Hyatt for getting us set for the 2019 season at Iowa Speedway. Next weekend, we're going to have information about the SAC Car Show joining us. The Strategic Air Command, they've got a 2-day car show coming up on the 15th and 16th of June, correct?
Correct.
So we're going to talk to them about their car show and get you all set for that, because even though it's not racing, it's cars. Let's talk about it. RJ Moss, track champion at Eagle Raceway for the Sport Compacts, will join us along with Tony Hardesty for next weekend's show. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us. We'll do it all again next weekend. For Dirk Houston, I'm Dan Taylor. This has been The Front Stretch on AM 590.
The official watering hole of The Front Stretch has you covered any day of the week with the best wings, great burgers, and amazing steaks. Each weekday from 4 to 6 is happy hour, featuring $1 off draft and well drinks plus $4 Luberitas. Mondays are kids' night. Tuesdays are all-you-can-eat wings for $12.95, and the lube even delivers to the Council Bluffs area. Like Quaker Steak and Lube Council Bluffs on Facebook for a full list of weekly events.
Get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Mid-America Drive, Council Bluffs.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you White Knuckle Racing by the River bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
This has been the Front Stretch Radio Show, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. To contact Dan or Dirk, find them on Facebook at The Front Stretch or email them at frontstretch590@gmail.com. If you missed any part of today's show or want to hear a previous show, subscribe to the Joe's Karting YouTube page, where you can find almost every Front Stretch show.